4, 3, 2, 1.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point you realize you married into crazy. And that's what our show is all about. If your marriage or relationship is compassionate, real, accountable, zealous and yielding, or just plain crazy, Snooks and Lovey offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as they unpack this thing called marriage. Sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy E.T. Look, if you're looking to or you got to raise the bar on your marriage, you gotta click the link and get into Married into Crazy, y'all. I'm telling you, this coaching is gonna take your relationship to another level. Now look, you already know you need to raise the bar. You know that already. So stop thinking or overthinking. Click that link, and Marriage into Crazy is gonna take you and your spouse to marital bliss. Now you know. Click the button. Let's go.
Welcome back to another episode of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. I'm Lovey.
I am Snooks.
She sounds like Groot. And once again, I am Groot. But she is definitely Snooks, and that's why I love her.
Aww.
Hey, you have a lot of choices on where you go for your information, for your discussions as it pertains to marriage, relationships, and so forth. And we're just thankful that you've come here. So we're asking you to, right out the gate, to go over to YouTube if that's where you're watching us. If you haven't already hit subscribe, go ahead and hit that button, hit subscribe.
And wherever else you download to listen to your other podcasts, other platforms like, is it iHeartRadio?
Mm-hmm.
iHeartRadio.
Audible, Pandora.
You said YouTube
Apple.
already. Did you say YouTube?
I did say YouTube.
Okay. I'd be listening, but I guess I missed it.
So we're striking that balance between the visual that you're going to get on YouTube, but then also if you're one of those individuals that's on the go and needs to listen to your podcast while you're commuting or what have you, there's a variety of different places that you can go that support both Android and your Apple products. So definitely go there, tell a friend, have them join the conversation, and keep it moving. You know, so I'm going to ask a question.
Okay.
Are you okay?
Am I okay?
Yes.
With you asking a question, or am I okay?
I'm just asking, are you
Is
okay?
that the question?
It was a long weekend of football, and Snooks did not get to watch.
Oh, not half as much football as I wanted to. Are you okay?
I am not okay.
Okay, so I don't know if y'all be on Facebook or whatever, but Lovey was Steelered down. Socks, pants, scarf, shirt, and the hat. If you had gloves, you might have had your...
Ooh, I got to put gloves on my list.
Oh, for next year?
Yeah, and you know, so I just support my team, trying to get us there. Look, last team in the playoffs for the AFC, and it was just ugly. It was just ugly.
Well, I mean...
Do we got to go there?
No, you brought it football.
I know. Now I'm
brought
having...
it football. But, I mean, so... I'm excited for next week's football, honestly. Because the Bills are playing the Chiefs, which I think that's going to be a phenomenal game. It better not be boring. And
all I know is Josh Allen better do him like he did us. That's all I gotta say. And hopefully the Chiefs know how to tackle. So.
That is so funny. But the game is going to be, isn't Baltimore playing Texas?
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be a game.
That's going to
be a good game.
Anyway, but look, when you're not watching football, make sure you're watching the YouTube channel for Married into Crazy.
So if you're not watching football, watch us. Is that what you're trying to say?
But I do have, okay, so there is some relevance to all of this. So I have friends that were Dallas Cowboy fans or still are. It's a very toxic relationship that they have with their team. And I was telling a lot of them that you just need to quit them. You need to quit them, move on, find a new team, be done with that.
But isn't that called bandwagoning or something like that?
Yeah,
because somebody's not doing so hot right now.
Not right now. They haven't been doing hot for a minute.
But they're America's team, right? How did that ever come about? Anyway, that's a different whatever, but I just wonder.
No, I was going to say, but anyway, it was very, so I'm sending out, I found this video that I thought was hilarious. It was a rendition of these guys on the football field doing that song from The Wiz, Michael Jackson, You Can't Win.
With the scarecrow.
With the scarecrow.
That was wrong.
It was so funny. And of course, I couldn't wait, and I sent it out to everybody before the Steelers played. And so I'm just waiting for somebody to send it back to me.
I was gonna ask you, did you get anybody say anything to you about?
No, I think I got unfollowed and blocked by a lot of my friends.
See,
Again, it was one of those things. But, sometimes, I'm just telling you guys, sometimes you need to ditch your homie. Ditch the homie in order to moving forward. And as it pertains to relationships, don't you think we need to occasionally ditch the homie?
I mean, is the homie being bad? Are they in our way? What are we? We can't have friends in our what?
Not even friends. Look, the homeostasis, the norm.
Oh, gotcha.
See, I told you I was going somewhere with this. So when I say ditch the homie, this whole topic is about getting out of your comfort zone, doing something different. And I'm going to give you a definition for those of you that are kind of familiar but not quite sure what homeostasis means. So homeostasis is defined as a self-regulating process by which a living organism can maintain internal stability while adjusting to changing external conditions. It's not static and unvarying. It is a dynamic process that can change internal conditions as required to survive external challenges. And I wanted to bring this up because it's been a topic that I've spoken to several groups about now, where I talk about ditching the homie, meaning the homeostasis. And homeostasis meaning that equilibrium, that place that feels comfortable, that it's not too extreme. It doesn't make you stretch, right? But it also doesn't help you either because it keeps you stagnant right where you're at. And I believe that in a lot of marriages and in a lot of relationships, the challenge we have is that I expect after 27 years of marriage, I would expect my wife to be the same woman she was 27 years ago.
Well, wouldn't you want me to be? Because that's who you married.
And yes and no. The answer to that is yes and no. Because quite honestly, if you think about it, I'm not the man I was 27 years ago, thank God.
That's true.
She said that with a heavy sigh.
Well, there's still some things you don't do that. No, go ahead.
No, but it's realistically, it's like you're supposed to progress, right? Because if you're not moving forward, if you're not growing, then you're dying. And the same can be said for your relationship. If your relationship isn't growing and metamorphosing and becoming, then it's stagnant. And stagnant things have a tendency to fade away.
Well, I mean, yes and no, as far as that goes, the way I look at it. I mean, anyway. But it's like homeostasis is it's like a built-in thermostat, right?
Okay.
So it makes adjustments to keep things, like you said, kind of keep things within optimal range. Would you say that's fair?
That's fair.
Okay, so if optimal range though is like okay, then where's the harm?
Well, let's put it this way.
So I mean, because it keeps things level. Like let's say what is that you take for blood sugar, high blood, not blood pressure, diabetes.
Okay, so there's different things. There's like insulin, there's metformin.
Okay, so those things, you take that to adjust or to make sure that your stuff stays the same, right? At a good optimal level. Is that right?
To a certain extent, yes.
I'm not okay. So if you look at homeostasis in that way, then why is that harmful? This is just me asking a question.
No, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, and if you think,
Thank you. No.
no, so if you're looking at this from the standpoint of it's supposed to keep everything in a good space, that's one thing. But what if homeostasis is actually keeping things in a bad space? Someone that's in a toxic relationship and the norm for the relationship is arguing and yelling and screaming and that's it.
But wouldn't homeostasis be I mean, I get where you're saying. I guess I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit here.
Go for it.
So wouldn't the homeostasis be the person, one of the people, making adjustment for the other person to avoid the arguing and the whatever it is, the fighting and stuff, so that there is no there isn't any of that. I'm just going to adjust myself just so that this relationship can continue on. I mean, and then there won't be that fight or whatever. We would just stay in that one. I mean, I can see a whole lot of things wrong with what I just said.
Okay, I was about to say, because I'm about to go in. I mean, is that a healthy relationship?
But no. I mean, for you, it might be if I'm making the adjustment. Perceived health, I'll say that is a perceived healthy relationship, because in actuality, if I'm making an adjustment that I'm really not down with, I'm just making that adjustment to make the adjustment to keep things status quo so we don't fight and I don't want no trouble. I ain't trying to rock no boats, So I'm not really being my authentic self. But to you, it might be great because, she don't argue with me. I get to do what I want to do. She just kind of goes along with the flow, blah, blah, blah. But on the back end or on the flip side of it, I'm like, now I'm starting to be resentful and I'm starting to be,
No, and I think there's danger in that, because I guess the premise that I didn't set is that when I'm talking about ditching the homie, it's ditching the homie for the purpose of having a thriving relationship, as opposed
thriving is the keyword.
As opposed to a surviving relationship.
And that is so true, because there are a lot of relationships that are just surviving. They're holding on. We're not. What is that? Some people are not living, they're existing. So, and in some relationships, they're not thriving, they're surviving. I like that.
And unfortunately, that's true. We have a lot of models that have been set for us over the years. Some of our patriarchs and matriarchs, whether it be parent, grandparents, aunties, uncles, close friends of the family, what have you, there's plenty of models that have gone on for generations where, they're celebrating, 60 years of marriage. But 40 of them or 50 of them have been extremely volatile, and they're in it just because of the family.
Or because that's what they've been taught to do. And that's just how it is. Men will be men. They gonna do whatever. And I'm of course, I'm picking on men, but you're like, excuse me. But I mean, on the other side is like, ball and chain, here we go. You know what I'm saying?
No, true. And listen, everybody that's listening to us right now that are within earshot should understand that Married into Crazy, we are about thriving marriages, not surviving marriages. The other day, I put out a quote from one of the social media things that we do, and it said that just because we're pro-marriage doesn't mean we're anti-divorce. I'm not pro-divorce, but I am definitely pro-health, pro-peace, pro-harmony. And those things do take work to achieve. But I have a hard time believing that in this particular case, when it comes to a thriving relationship, a thriving marriage, that the norm, homeostasis, is absolutely ideal at all times.
Yeah, I think, and I don't mean to cut you off, but in this situation, in those type of situations, like you said, I feel like homeostasis is part of it. It's part of the survival part, because you have partners that are resistant to change. They don't want to. They want everything to be this. No, it has to be right here, or whatever. Or I mean, and I guess I'm talking about. I don't know if I'm moving too forward. If you want to talk about how relationships get into that type of situation, I feel like what I just said is this is one of the things that leads to homeostasis in a relationship, the surviving type of thing.
So let me give you a synonym.
Okay.
So homeostasis, when we're talking about relationships, could be synonymous with a plateau. You've reached this plateau where we're stuck, right? So if you're talking about business, if you're talking about your health, particularly fitness, we talk about, I was working out really well, or, business was really growing. Then I hit a plateau. That's where everything levels out. About a month or so ago, I did a talk. It was a guest spot there was a men's group that asked me to come on and speak to the gentleman. And one of the guys there was newly married. And he had asked me, basically, how do we ensure that the marriage doesn't go stagnant? Because all of his friends and his relatives were telling him, enjoy while you can until the honeymoon's over. That whole concept, that premise of the honeymoon being over is about the plateau. It's about reaching a homeostasis and staying there, right? It's about finding this new environment. What's the definition? Living organism can be maintained internal stability, right? While adjusting to changing external conditions. All the external conditions are changing. Your job is changing. Maybe you're making more money. Maybe you're making less money. We're getting older. Our bodies are changing. All these external conditions. You now have kids. There's financial distress. I don't say distress. There's financial responsibilities that are growing. You decide to buy a home. These external conditions are all changing, but you're maintaining the stability where you were. That's problematic. And so I explained to him is that it's up to you to make sure that you continue dating your wife. There's a brother that's part of my men's group that I belong to, the King's Accountability Group, Mr. Joe Sertain, and he's got a nice quote. His wife, God bless her, passed away due to cancer. But to this day, he says, date your wife or somebody else will. That's how you maintain, at least from a man's standpoint, that's how you ensure that you don't reach a plateau. But just like anything else, business, fitness, your relationship, it's okay to stretch and grow. See, homeostasis isn't an absolutely bad thing. In a lot of ways, it's a good thing because it maintains, it's almost like a surviving mechanism. If you get too hot, your body has to actually bring down your temperature to get you back into homeostasis. Because you can overheat and cause all kinds of challenges. If you get too cold, body self-regulates and tries to get you back to that normal range. It's a surviving method. Marriages are not meant to survive. They are meant to thrive. And so just like business, you get into a mode where you're building your business and you're growing and you're doing things. You get to a point where it's like, oh, you're climbing. Okay, this is because it's all about growth. If you take a look at Wall Street, you take a look at these quarterly financials from all these corporate organizations, and you're looking at the Fortune 500 and S&P 500 and so forth, quarter to quarter, they want growth. They want that growth. And then if it plateaus and you have this moment where all of a sudden you're starting to balance out and you're not seeing growth, there's an adjustment period that takes place where you have to get used to where you are because you hadn't been there before. So you got to take a look at your surroundings and figure out, okay, where are we at right now? Okay, this is good. What have we learned in the journey? Once you actually take an assessment of what you've learned, it's time to grow again, to go beyond that homeostasis, to kind of start to ratchet up again. And it's the exact same thing when it comes to our relationships. The journey is the most important thing. And as you're journeying and growing, and you start to say, okay, now we've reached a norm. Let's sit back and enjoy where the journey that got us here. You're supposed to take inventory and like, oh, how do we get here? What's the process by which we grew, that we love each other, that we do these things? And you enjoy that for a moment, but then you don't stay there. You take a moment to say, okay, now what's next? What else can we do? And I'm not just talking about, buying the next house or whatever.
No, I know.
Why are you laughing?
Just because I was like, you said, what else can we do? I'm like, sit down.
No, you do. You do need to sit down and enjoy the spoils of where you're at. Because we do. Like right now, there's things that we're doing to enhance our home. And like, if you paint the house, it's like, oh, it's been the same color for so long. I just need a change. So you paint the house, you go through all this work and you paint it. Then you got to sit down and enjoy it. It's like, oh, this is so nice. But as you're enjoying it, you're looking around like, this furniture don't fit the new color.
And that's so true. That is so true. Because when I feel like that's where you level up, and if I'm leveling up if I upgraded my kitchen, I can't have a 1925 living room or 1960 furniture with the plastic on there, the yellow plastic or whatever, it has to match.
You don't like the plastic sticking to you when you get up?
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad those days are gone.
We should do it just so our kids have some type of reference point.
Oh my gosh, I would love to do that to one of them, especially to Kiana. I would love.
Can we put down the runner mat too?
I would love that.
All the way through, so they could trip.
Wait.
Or step on it.
I was on the other side. The little pointy parts. Yeah, I would love that. Let's do it. So if anybody out there got runners, send it to us so that we could put some down our hallway.
We can put some beads up to separate the room.
Now you're going too far. Now you're going too far.
No, but you're absolutely right. I mean, there's a ratcheting up, if you will. And when I talk about ditching the homie, it's about ditching the homeostasis. And you know what? We're talking relationships, but anywhere in your life, your fitness, your business ventures, your hobbies, your relationship with your children.
But I think too, though, one thing that because when you say homeostasis, it sounds like that's a good thing, because it sounds like, okay, everything's stable, we're all good, we're just going with the flow, yin and yang, whatever, no issues, no problems. So that makes it sound like it's a good thing, and it is in certain situations. As far as your relationship goes, it can make it stagnant, and it can make it just like, oh, well, here we are. There's no, and like you said, if it's not thriving, it could be surviving, and but that's honestly if you want that, because some people don't. All I care is that I'm here or whatever, and they don't want to do anything else. If you want more, which I feel like everyone should want more. That's just me, but
maybe I'm wrong in assuming, but anybody listening to our podcast or other marriage podcasts, or that are looking to go to marriage conferences, it's because they want more, right? Something
I'm just saying
better or refined for their relationship.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that's if you want, if you want more, that's what I'm talking about, not necessarily.
So, I mean, let me ask you, so let me turn the corner. What are some steps that people can take to ensure that once they've achieved, or, that once they've grown, once they've gone through the process by which they've, lived a certain way. Let's say they just painted the house. I'm just going to use that as an example. Mm-hmm. Now that we've painted the house or this particular room, how do we go about getting back to the point where we're stretching a little bit? How do we go to the next level? How do we ensure that we're not staying within homeostasis or at a plateau for too long? And what do we do to get out of it to ensure that the relationship is always fresh?
Well, I mean, I think you already said it earlier. You take inventory. The house is painted and I love it. And you're going to sit back and you're going to watch it and you're going to, look at it or whatever and be like, new paint, love the way it looks. Walls look good. Like the new paint smell, whatever it is. And then you're going to look around, maybe not necessarily in that moment once the paint dried and it's finished, but you're going to look around when things are placed back where they belong, and you'll see how things don't necessarily match, what your new vision is, because that paint and that furniture were part of the original vision or that you had, and that did you well for however long. It makes me think about what you had said before about the Will Smith story with the canoe.
Oh yeah, when he had the raft.
Yeah, the raft. So the raft got him so far, but in order to get through whatever the bamboo or whatever it is, he had to destroy the raft to go further, right? Mm-hmm. So it kind of makes me think about that, like, I need new carpet now because the walls look a certain way. Now I want my carpet. Now I want the floor to match the walls. So in order for the floors or to do the floors, the carpet, I got to tear all that out. And I got to make a big old mess of my house because we got to move furniture, however they do it. Move furniture, blah, 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 whatever. They got to chip away at and measure, and it's going to look ugly for a little bit, and I'm going to be frustrated, and it's not going to move fast enough, and whatever it is. And then finally, you see them putting down whatever it is that you picked, the floor or some new carpet or whatever. And you're like, okay, I'm starting to see the vision. Okay. And that's going to be nice for a minute until you see that furniture don't match the walls or the carpet. I mean, if you're talking about growing, if you're talking about growth, I'm not saying that every single time you just got to keep doing whatever, because honestly, it's cool to actually hit a plateau for a minute, because that means that you've made some progress, right?
And you get to recuperate.
Right.
You get to rest, recharge.
I feel like that. Yeah.
But I love what you're saying, because it actually ties into what we did this past weekend as well. And we had...
What did we do?
We had the Married into Crazy vision party.
Board. Uh-huh.
Yep. So we had a vision board party.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we talked about with all the couples, and by the way, thank you and shout out to all the couples that joined us for the 2024 vision board kickoff. It was amazing. We had people from all over the United States.
Cool.
I loved it because there were people from Colorado and Montana. It was really cool. And as well as the West Coast, like California, both Northern California, Southern California. People chimed in from all over, and I'm really excited about that. But one thing we talked about was when you set the vision, right, for what you want for your relationship, for your marriage, as you're developing these things, and they're tied directly to your core beliefs, so it's not just random, that we don't just take it, put a board up, and say, oh, that's it. That's it. Because then it becomes stagnant. Mm-hmm. How many vision boards have become stagnant? You've reached homeostasis with it, because now that you created it, it sits on a wall, and then after a while, you start walking past it and not even seeing it because it's on the wall, as opposed to revisiting it and asking yourself, okay, how am I tracking on this? Mm-hmm. So we talked about on a quarterly basis, checking in, having a vision board check-in or a vision check-in. Mm-hmm. Where are we at as it relates to the goal that I set with this vision board? Because it's nothing more than a visual representation of some of the goals that you're setting for whatever it is, whether it's your business, your fitness, but whatever it is, that vision, you need to check in. And when we're talking about rising above homeostasis, the only time you lift above that plateau is if there's a vision for something else. Mm. There has to be, otherwise, why would you make a move if there's no vision for something better or something, right, at a higher level? And I'm not saying that, oh, I need a new wife or you need a new husband. Not that kind of better.
I was about to say, you could go ahead and say that if you want to. You'd be living out of your car.
Not in the state of California, I won't. No, but it could be about, oh, you know what? I have not been as compassionate as I should be. Mm. We're not talking about like these leaps and bounds. Like I've got to have a wholesale change and become a better person, different person. No, just be like, I've got to get better at listening.
I mean, you might need to become a...
There's parts, but baby steps. So maybe it is like,
yeah, no.
I mean, you've heard me talk countless times on the podcast about how, as much growth as I've had, there's still so much more for me to experience and to do and to master. Mm-hmm. Because quite honestly, if you get to the point where there's nothing new to learn, there's nothing new to experience, you check your pulse, because you might be dead.
That's true.
So when you hit that plateau, when you want to go, so one of the things you need to do is just, again, like you said, take inventory, but start to ask yourself, what are the little things that I can do a little bit better? Something as simple as that can get you out of that homeostasis. And it doesn't take a whole lot, folks. A 1% change can make a huge difference in the trajectory of where you're trying to go with your relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's true. He said, what is the thing that I could do? The first thing I thought about for myself.
Close the cabinets. This weekend, we almost went to blows. This girl will not close the cabinet. And the sad thing is, our daughters have completely adopted her practice. And I think Isaiah's got it now too. Because he opens up to the pantry door, we'll look in it and just walk away. It's infecting my whole house.
Oh man, that is so funny.
The only thing they will open and close is the refrigerator. And they'll do that like 50 times a day. So anyway, I think that's it. But look,
that's funny.
I hope this had some value for you, because it's one of those things where I think it's important. It sounds very small, But ditch the homie. Get rid of the homeostasis, at least for a moment. Right? Once you get there, it's good. Relax, rejuvenate, replenish, reinvigorate, and then stretch again for whatever that may be. Because to address the gentleman that brought it up in the men's group, and they were out of Stockton, California, the only way that you're going to ensure that your relationship doesn't become stagnant, doesn't reach a plateau and stay there, is if one or both of you are constantly looking for ways to improve just slightly. She is not the woman she was 27 years ago. I am not the man I was 27 years ago. And quite honestly, the couples that we've interviewed over the years, all of them have in some way, shape, or form talked about how they've had to change.
So, yeah, I mean, the one thing, like you said, there's them having to change, but also being able to celebrate that change too, celebrate individual change, but also celebrate together. I should be able to celebrate with you, the change, the positive change that I see, and speak on it. Too many times I feel like when our spouse or our partner is doing something, bettering themselves or whatever it is, just making some changes from the things of old behaviors or whatever, we don't speak out enough to encourage it, or just be like, hey, you know what? I see blah, 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 whatever. And you don't got to be snide or any kind of rude way when you say it, but it's acknowledging, because for some people it's like, shoot, you don't even notice I did that. So why am I, so, be willing to do that. Be willing to say to your partner, I appreciate the effort of you doing whatever it was that we had a conversation about. I see that you're doing blah, 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 whatever it is. But we have to be willing to open our mouths and let our partners know that we see them trying to change. Talk about open communication. You have to communicate that stuff,
It's funny you even bring that up. One of the couples that we coach reached out, and one of them reached out and said, da, 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 da. And I was like, celebrate that change that you see. If somebody is operating in a manner in which they have it in the past, but it's a positive thing that's impactful for you, take a moment to celebrate that and let them know, like, hey, you would have normally responded like X, Y, Z. And in doing that, it used to make me feel some way, but you responded this way this time, and it means the world to me. They need to hear that, because the only way change, honestly, is going to become consistent is if it's reinforced. And the only way it's going to be reinforced is by verbally saying that, oh, hey, I loved it when you did that.
Yeah, thank you for blah, 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 whatever. I feel like I'm not saying women, but I'm saying we as in each other, individuals in the relationship, we hinder, this is just my personal, I feel like a lot of times we can hinder the growth of the things that we say we want, just like I said, by not acknowledging you. So sometimes we're so upset or we're so proud for, or whatever the word is that I'm maybe not saying right, but I'm just, well, he should have been doing that in the first place. So why should I? It's like, okay, well, do you want to see the change? Do you want, if you want to see the thing that you say you want and you see someone making an effort, we're going to see how long it lasts. Don't do that. Do not do that. That is not the thing to do. Okay. Because that will keep you stagnant. That will keep you in that same homeostasis, because you're being negative about the change that you saw. Keep encouraging it, So it might be like, well, your attitude stinks, so that's why I don't do, So.
Right. He don't bring me no flowers no more like he used to. And then he brings home flowers. Well, you only did it because I said it.
The fact that you were listening. Thank you.
Right. And that's just an example.
Well, yeah.
and it's like, she don't greet me at the door like she used to. I'm the man. I come home and I've been working hard all day, and I know we both work, but it'd be nice to be recognized. And then you come to the door and she kisses you and he's like, yeah, well, she's only doing it because I said that. Let's see how long that lasts. It goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Stop.
It does.
Stop, because all that does is that puts you right back, and it actually puts you several paces behind where you were to begin with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you're building a wall in that process. So let's ditch the homie. Leave the homie behind.
Seriously.
And let's get out of that homeostasis for long periods of time. It's okay to be there for a moment, but let it only be a moment. And does that mean like, I constantly got to be in movement? No. That homeostasis, it's as simple as,
because I promise,
learning just like one little thing.
Your girl is not in movement all the time.
She is not. But look, PDA, public displays of affection. A simple homeostasis, breaker, if you will. You're out in public and you're used to just walking, doing your own thing, talking. You're on your phone. She's on her phone. Put the phone in your pocket. Hold her hand.
I was about to say, we already talked about this. You could be on your
Catch
phone,
them
but you better hold my hand, bruh. What? Okay.
Well, but there's little things, but it's up to you to figure out what that is. What's the homeostasis breaker? What's the plateau breaker? What's the thing that can actually, the 1% change that you can actually do that will have lasting and extremely positive impact? Mm-hmm. Ditch the homie and figure it out. And
even maybe have a conversation with your partner and be like, look, I feel like we're a little stagnant, we're just in this rut. So what would you like to see happen in this relationship? What steps would you like to see me take? And I will tell you what steps I would like, to take it. But when you have those conversations, make sure that you're in a safe spot, in a safe space. This is not the time to just unleash and just go all in. I mean, you do want to be authentic in the things that you want to see change, but this is not and you need to, and it's not that kind of situation. Let's just talk about what each of us could do maybe differently. And one thing, if too much information is overload for you, let's just work on one thing at a time.
Yeah, that's not the time to bring out your iPad and be like, okay, so I'm glad you asked. Here's my list of
on December 15,
I'm going to airdrop this list to you. No, but look, have fun with it. Grow. Thrive instead of survive. We want your relationship to thrive and not just survive. It's 2024. You deserve to have a thriving relationship. And in order to do that, you're going to have to ditch the homie. Mm-hmm. So go back and reflect on the things that we've talked about today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at coaching@marriedintocrazy. Send us an email. Let us know. If we're making comments out there, or you see some of the replays from the podcast, video, what have you, drop some comments in there. Let's get some dialogue going, and let's enrich all of our relationships and lifting each other up.
I agree.
So until the next time,
be blessed.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. Please like, subscribe to, and review the show wherever you access it, and tell a friend about us. Visit marriedintocrazy.com and see how Snooks and Lovey can bless your marriage directly.